So welcome to another episode of 305 Vox Populi. I'm Mayor Manny Sid, and today's guest is a good friend of mine, Alex Ruiz. Before we get to Alex, we're gonna thank some of our incredible folks that make this possible every single week. We're powered by Miami Lakes Auto Mall. Shout out to Fred Senra. Thank you, Fred. They're located at 16600 Northwest 57th Avenue in Miami Lakes. Their phone number is 305-455-3540. And our food today, our food sponsor is produced by Diced of Miami Lakes. Shout out to Alejandra Bustos, the Dice Management. You guys do a phenomenal job. They're located at 7425 Miami Lakes Drive. Their number is 305-961-1032. The food looks phenomenal. Today, our film production team, who does a great job. You could see the production every single week. It continues to get better. The Matter Lakes Bears. Shout out to the Matter Lakes Bears. I appreciate you all. Alex, welcome. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
So I get asked all the time, how did you get involved in politics? And obviously being the son and grandson of Cuban exiles, we talked about it every day at the dinner table, right?
Sure.
Politics, freedom, it was talked about every day. But how I specifically got involved in local government, I was 18 years old. And I've known Alex, we were, since we were in kindergarten. His mom was my PE teacher. I mean, you name it. I mean, when dial-up internet was a thing, when it was happening, we would play like every day. We would get mad at our parents, telling them, "Hey, get off the line." And that's how we would connect and play different games. We created websites. You name it. But we graduated from high school, and at 18, I get a call from Alex. He's like, "Look, why don't you? I'm working on a local campaign. This is in 2003. We graduated in 02. Why don't you come with me, hang out with me?" The incentive was always, hey, we're going to eat afterwards at Taco Bell, a beefy 5-layer burrito. And that was always, for us, especially growing up, we mostly ate at home, right? So when those things, I was like, man, I'm all about it. I'm there. And I remember standing on 49th Street in Hialeah with a sign, campaigning for people I didn't even know, right?
It's true.
And so when folks ask me that is something that I appreciated, because you opened up that door for me, and I became enamored. Now I'm the mayor of Miami Lakes. But more than anything, I look back 18 years ago, and I'm like, man, it's unbelievable. Like, and I think the first question is, do you ever look back and understanding what your roots are, right? You grew up next to Wall Park, the Cambridge buildings, right? There was a lot of gangs in the area. Gangs don't exist really in this area like they did back then.
Correct.
And seeing everything you've done, do you ever sit back and say, because I remember standing on 49th Street with you in a sign, seeing everything, because now you're one of the top real estate minds in South Florida. I mean, you are in those meetings every day. So looking back in 18 years, that journey from the humble beginnings where we barely had any money, and it was like, yo, a beefy 5-layer burrito, that was a glass of water, that was it. To today, you're sitting in rooms and meetings with the top real estate folks in South Florida, making those decisions, not only working for them, but being an owner, a partner. I think, talk to me about how you look back and how that feels.
Again, thank you for having me. The truth is that I try not to look back. And, when I do, it's easy to get nostalgic, but it's also easy to think of how many things could have gone wrong. I mean, I think we've talked about that. Decisions that we've made or I've made that, maybe in some cases weren't the best decisions. And I've been fortunate. I tell a lot of people, especially now that, to your point, I've started thinking a little more about where I came from and how I can help other people. And when I talk to these kids, one of the first things I tell them is, don't be afraid to make mistakes, but try to learn from them. And I think that's something that helped us a long way. I think that was part of the culture and how we were, brought up at home. But it was, you did something wrong, but don't do it again. And I think, learning from these things, we've been able to, adapt. But also, a great deal of success has a lot to do with putting yourself in the right position. And I think you're a perfect example of it. I think I'm a perfect example of it. By doing the right thing at the right time and working hard, you can get to where you need to be. I was fortunate enough to be put in positions where if I excelled, I could I could grow. Same thing for you. You know, when starting from an aide to a state representative to mayor of Miami Lakes. Each step of the way, you excelled. Nobody gave you anything. Nobody gave me anything. So a big part of that was putting in the effort. When I look back on it, I think that we're fortunate to be where we were. Tell a lot of people the parks, City of Hialeah really helped. I know you're working on that for this, City of Miami Lakes. I know it's a big part of your agenda, and the parks in the City of Hialeah saved my life. I know they did a lot for you as well, and I hope it's doing that for kids today in both Hialeah and Miami Lakes. I think that a lot of where the success that we've had has come from has been a good group of friends, right? I mean, we talk about that all the time, but the mayor and I have probably the same 10 people that we've known for well over 30 years. Very little hidden agendas. We can let people into auxiliary part of the groups, acquaintances, new friends, but the main part of our friends, knowing somebody for over 30 years, you know that they only have your best intention at heart. So it's been a great journey. I'm happy to have had, great friends, and I'm happy to see success. When you became mayor, or even when you became council member, there was nothing happier for me. I felt like I became council member. I feel like I became mayor. Now that you have this show, I was already upset that I hadn't been on it already, but that's okay. So, but really, it's all part of the journey. So.
No, it definitely is, and you're one of the folks I talk about all the time. How proud I am to have grown up with you, because I saw that grind, and you kind of, Lucy Lopez, I had her on a couple weeks ago, and she talked about how people that are ultra successful, people that really have that glare in their eye, that grind, that they don't give up, that doesn't. That every day they wake up and they see the glass half full, which is so important. Mindset is so vitally important, and I think every day growing. But I'll never forget those days where we were 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. A lot of folks were having a good time, going to the beach, going here or there, and for us, having $20 in our pocket, going to the Denny's on Red Road, and watching a movie, that was like, we made it, and I think, looking back on those days, it was so important. But you hit it on the head. The people that you surround yourself with is so important for folks' success. And I share this with the young people all the time. You want to change your life, change the people around you. If you got a lot of folks have the crab in the bucket mentality, right? They pull each other down. And you need to surround yourself with people that lift you up, that talk about you. So I appreciated you sharing that. But talking about what you're doing today, and I know the peaks and valleys of the real estate industry. I know you guys are doing well, man. You guys are growing. How many assets do you have? What's going on? Talk to us about the prestige companies.
So we're actually quite fortunate today. An article came out in the Herald on our new project on
Ludlam Trail.
On the Ludlam Trail, and that's going to be a flagship project for the company. I think the Ludlam Trail as a whole is transformative for the county. For folks who aren't familiar with it, it's going to be about a 7-mile long trail that transects basically the heart of urban Miami-Dade County, from Blue Lagoon all the way to Dadeland, and with the idea that it's going to be a walking and bike path, very similar to what they have in New York with what they call the High Line and the Belt Line in Atlanta, for example. It was Flagler East Coast Railroad line that was abandoned many years ago, and it's just been sitting there. We purchased the Southwest 8th Street node, so a major development node. The rest of the county purchased pretty much anything that abutted residential. Anything that touched residential, the county purchased. There was residential development kind of south of us. So it's Southwest 8th Street, it's Coral Way, and it's Bird Road. Those are the major developmental nodes. We happen to be probably the largest landowner on the trail at 8 acres in size. And we've devoted ourselves to what we're doing all over the county. So that's a segue, which is workforce housing. So we're gonna do garden style. It will have some amenities. It's gonna have a pool. It's gonna have a clubhouse. It's gonna have a gym, but not too many more frills to be able to make it where we can deliver that product affordably to our residents that we hope to get there. So, that's been our biggest focus. We don't, as of today, we've yet to ever receive any incentives, any public financing, any bonds, any governmental assistance in any way. We pay full freight on impact fees. We pay full freight on permit fees. We pay everything, and yet we're still developing and producing a workforce housing product. So a lot of people say, "Oh, you can't do that unless you're getting incentives, unless the government's helping you to do that." Like affordable housing, where it's heavily dependent on government subsidies. And the truth is that's not the case. And we've tried to basically focus our niche in there. We have about 1,500 units under construction. We are COing and have CO'd about another 1,100 units in the last 4 years. And again, all workforce housing, all within the city of Hialeah, city of Miami. We haven't had the chance to do anything in Miami Lakes. We'd love to. Our headquarters is here. But Hialeah, city of Miami, and Miami-Dade County, we just finished a entry-level housing program for Homestead, 25 homes that we built there. So, we've been really busy. I agree. The market kind of, it's cyclical, as the highs, as its lows. And, market, everybody's talking about it now. It's very high for some things. What we've decided to do that we didn't do previously is to not focus ourselves on for-sale product. Keep it to where we're renting. Keep it to where we're renting to the mass market. We're the cheapest new product in the community. You don't have to qualify for anything to rent our product. You just have to, pass a background check, and give somebody a clean new product at a price they can afford. And I think, we hope that model's sustainable. So it won't be dependent on the market taking off or the market cooling down.
It's so important to touch upon the housing industry. It's on fire, right? Single family homes, townhomes here in Northwest Dade. I mean, they're it's so expensive. So it's so important what you're doing, specifically on the Ludlam Trail. And I've had the opportunity to ride the Underline in downtown in Miami. I've had the opportunity to go to the High Line in New York, the 606 in Chicago. So all those projects, all those linear projects, I mean, they provide so much value to an entire community. So I think you guys, the foresight there is truly unbelievable. The other thing I really appreciate about Alex, he is wise beyond his years. And I'll share with you guys a story not too many people know, and it's a powerful story. So this is about like 10 years ago. Alex was going to run for state representative. And I'm going to tell you this, he would have won. Like, I hope people understand he would have won. But I remember him sitting back and telling me, he goes, you know what? I think my future is less in the public eye, more in actually doing what you're doing today. And I remember you making that decision and how that's been so transformative. Here's what's interesting of all. He not only would he have won that, but by him stepping to the side, the person who he left unopposed is actually the lieutenant governor of the state of Florida today. And how you see those paths by him making that decision, the path that he's gone, now he's one of the biggest players in doing what he's doing, the Ludlam Trail and this and that. He probably would not be doing that today if he would have made the decision to stay in. And by him making that decision, now this other individual, who's Jeanette Nunez, a good friend of mine, a good friend of Alex's, is literally the lieutenant governor of Florida, who's making all of us proud as well, who's doing a great job. And represents Miami really well, and understands the dynamics of what's going on locally really well. So that decision, I mean, looking back on that and pivoting, I saw it and I was like, you think back on it, you're like, man, that's a powerful choice, and it goes to show you how things happen. I mean, what you ever get back into politics, or what are your
my business partners would kill me if I dared want to enter politics again, but I think they know that. I think to some people it's kind of in their blood, right? It was in your blood. You didn't tell me hey, I'm not gonna stand on the street corner. You were always interested in politics. It was just a way to bring it out. I've always had a desire for public service. I've always had a desire to help, and I've always had an interest in it. I don't think my time is anywhere near now to do any of that. I look back and I think I made the right choice. I absolutely would not be doing any of what I'm doing now had I done that. But it's something where it kind of goes back to your first question and what we talked about at the beginning, which is choices. You try to make the best choice that's in front of you, and you just try to do the best job you can. And when it was easy to focus that question on success or failure, and one of the things that I've been I just got my pilot's license, and one of the things that they teach you in the course is that goal-oriented people, which are most pilots and most successful people, it could be a negative because you set a goal and you think that that's the right goal, and it's easy, and it's very easy for people to pigeonhole themselves once they make a choice. And the best thing that anyone can do is assess decisions with new information. So often in public discourse, in public policy, people put themselves behind one flag, behind one item, behind one position. And even when new information comes forward, they won't adapt because then, well, they're wrong, right? That means they had to change their position. They're flip flopping. That's not flip flopping. Addressing, uh, you know, uh, addressing actual issues is not going back on your word. It's actually doing the right thing. It's moving forward. So
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Too many people get into silos and they don't want to have conversations. They don't want to sit down. They think compromise is a bad thing, and it's really interesting. The one area I because I know COVID's a talk of the community. The impact it's had in our society has been, not only have we lost loved ones, but I think the economic impact. And you owning so many units, how has COVID impacted you? I know there's been an eviction moratorium. I know there's been a lot of things going on. I mean, how do you foresee the United States as a whole getting out of this?
I know it's a discussion we've had a lot, over the last year, you and I, and we kind of see eye to eye. I think COVID is a very interesting, obviously from a pandemic standpoint, what it's done, how it's hurt the economy, how it's hurt people, how it's killed people, but also how it's affected people's behavior, their mentality. We're very fortunate to live in the state of Florida. I'm very fortunate to be a property owner in the state of Florida. I hope your listeners really understand that, especially the new move-ins. Right, we have a lot of people moving in from the Northeast, from the West Coast for the first time, and I hope they can understand that the policy decisions that the governor has put into place is the reason why we're thriving and other places aren't. I mean, we have a sub 5 unemployment rate. California is near 10. New York is near 10. I mean, these are systemic differences. These are, and they're policy differences because some of the mitigation efforts that they put in place. And it trickles all the way down to behavior, to individual behavior. So in terms of our business, we've been very fortunate. Since people are been employed, they continue to pay rent. The vast majority. Have some people had, loss of employment? Yes. But by and large, by working with people, you always have the bad apples, right? You always have people trying to take advantage of whatever's happening at any time. If it's a hurricane, they're trying to take advantage of a hurricane. And if it's a pandemic like it is with COVID, they're taking advantage of COVID. Let me see if I can skip my rent. Let me see if I can get a break on it. Let me see what I can do, right? But those are the minority. They really are. That's very few people. The majority of people, if they lost their job, if they had a significant decrease in their employment, we've worked with them. Hey, break your lease. Take your security deposit. We're gonna refund it. Go back, move in either with your parents. Go back and maybe bring in a roommate. We'll allow somebody else on the lease. You know what? Make a partial pay. We'll keep following up with you. If you get fully employed, we'd love for you to just start paying rent. You owe us back rent. One day maybe we can get it. So we've worked with those people, but we've been very fortunate that that's been very small minority. I had the honor of talking to the one of the deputy directors of Freddie Mac, because we do get end loans from Fannie and Freddie and permanent financing. And he asked me in April and May, he said, why is it that people are talking about 75%, occupancy rates, collection rates in South Florida? I said, I don't know what you're talking about. We're at 96%, 97%. And he says, why is that? And I said, because we talk to our tenants. And a lot of that has to do with the tenant base that we have. Back to the product. We have workforce housing. These people, the number one fundamental thing that they have is a roof over their head. And you know how important that was for you growing up. Your parents were homeowners and they struggled to be homeowners and they struggled to maintain that. They would have gone without eating to make sure that they kept that roof over their head. And that continues on to today, even though this is rental projects. People value their credit. They value the fact that they can put, obviously apart from food on the table, they value the fact that they can, have a place to live. And so in that regard, we've been very fortunate. In terms of where I see Florida, I think we're extremely well positioned. I think we're going to continue to see relocation of employment here. I think Miami Lakes is going to continue to see that. Listen, that's good and bad. I tell people that it's 99% good. The bad is it causes more competitiveness in the housing market, right? I mean, when you talk to people and you have people from the Northeast or people from the West Coast that are coming from very, very expensive housing markets, they don't mind overpaying 10, 20% for a product that they find to be a steal. So they're overpaying for something that every local here would say, I can't believe they're paying X number. That's crazy. But to them, they had just left a 600 square foot condo for $2.5 million that they can get a 3,000 square foot condo for $900,000. They don't care about paying $75,000 more than the asking price. So it's created displacement, right? There is consequences to some of these actions. So in terms of COVID's effect, I think it's been a net benefit to South Florida. In terms of the economic, obviously, I was fortunate enough. I volunteered for the Pfizer trial, and I felt like I wanted to do something during the pandemic. So I was, a guinea pig in the Pfizer vaccine study. I ended up getting COVID after I got my first injection, which was placebo. So thankfully. And I think that what I'm doing, and I think you're doing, and I think everybody should be doing is pushing everybody to get vaccinated. Let's put an end to this, And I think in Florida we'll be one of the first economies to pull out of it. So.
Yeah, herd immunity is fast and approaching here in South Florida, I think, and that tidbit that you shared about speaking to your tenants is so powerful. I don't think every landlord does it. Some of them feel like, hey, look, I have an obligation, I have a mortgage to pay, and those conversations don't happen. So the other one you touched upon, I do new homeowner ribbon cuttings, and I remember about a year ago I did one in Loch Lomond, and there were some folks that just moved in from Manhattan. Think about it. They had a townhouse in Manhattan that was worth $3 million. About $1 million house in Loch Lomond that was like amazing. But for them, kept $2 million, got a bigger house on a golf course in a beautiful community. So you're absolutely right. As we wrap this up, Alex, any questions you have for me?
No, I think what you're, honestly, not because I'm on the show, I think what you're doing is great. I don't think people understand how much time you take out of your actual schedule that you could be devoting to making money out there, because this is not a full-time job. And I think you've made it a full-time job. You're really working 2 full-time jobs. And no, I think you're doing a great job. Hoping to see what you do next.
Well, we'll see. To be determined. We'll cross that bridge once we get closer. I'm turned out in 2024, but I always appreciated your friendship, your support. More than anything, I'm proud of you, and I know all the folks that we grew up with, see you as a great example of somebody that continues to grind every single day and uplift folks. So just by your example and really helping people, so keep up the good work, and we'll see you next week, same time, same place, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. Take care.